We want to give you a warning before we begin. This next story discusses suicide and rape, and some of you might want to mute the audio.
These kids who commit suicide, you go look at their Instagrams, you would have no clue that they were depressed.
What does it take? What does it take for people to recognize a dystopia?
Last week, a Grovetown middle schooler killed herself. Emily Zavala, who friends also called Elijah, would have turned 15 this month. She was posting videos on TikTok up until the end of her life.
So you're dealing with an addicted generation.
This is a big time bomb ticking.
It will get really worse, right. Okay? So combine that with the fact, so you have an addicted generation that doesn't have the skill set to ask for help. Combined with the fact that they're so good at Facebook and Instagram, they're good at putting filters on everything. So they're good at showing you how smart and strong they are. These kids who commit suicide, you go look at their Instagrams, you would have no clue that they were depressed because they're happy and they're star athletes, right? You'd have no clue.
People look like they have a much better life than they really do. People are posting pictures of when they're really happy. They're modifying those pictures to be better looking. Even if they're not modifying the pictures, they're at least selecting the pictures for the best lighting, the best angle. So people basically seem, they're way better looking than they basically really are, and they're way happier seeming than they really are. So if you look at everyone on Instagram, you might think, man, they're all these happy, beautiful people, and I'm not that good looking and I'm not happy. So I must suck, and that's gonna make people sad. So when in fact, those people you think are super happy, actually not that happy. Some of them are really depressed. They're very sad. Some of the happiest seeming people, actually some of the saddest people in reality.
I can't even imagine what the suicide and homicide and just the rates of depression, an accidental death due to overdose are going to look like in the future. It's going to reach epidemic proportions. It's already, the statistics are already alarming, and yet nobody's sounding any alarm bells. Parents have to intervene. We have to stop giving our kids free access to social media and phones at young ages. They are not ready for it. Their minds cannot cope with the dopamine. Balance is fine. You can give a kid a phone, but they can't use it in their bedroom. They can't have it at the dinner table. They can't take it to school. They can only have it up to a certain hour, and you take it away. They're children. You can take the phone away. We've got to intervene.
Are users actually safe? Is Facebook being safe?
Business models for companies like Facebook and Twitter, but also I have to say for Google, the only product that they make money from essentially is the ability to persuade and change the behaviors of their users. So you're not the customer of these things. The customer is the advertiser off to the side, and the advertiser believes that they're able to gain some kind of modification in what you do, what you think. And it's sneaky. You don't understand all that's being done to you. Very strange behavior modification algorithms are being applied, and all this data that's being taken is what feeds those algorithms. Now, the problem with this is that if you have a society where anytime two people do something together, the only way that's financed is because of a third person who wants to manipulate them, you end up with an entire society optimized for manipulation, for sneakiness, for trickiness. And so what you do is you open it up to all kinds of bad actors to come in and create divisions, ruin elections, make politics insane. I have to say, we've seen so many examples of that it's crazy to deny it anymore. If you ask, how did an organization like ISIS become so powerful so quickly? Well, it's because the social media technology is designed to amplify exactly the worst people. If you ask, why is violence returning to areas that had been gradually becoming more peaceful in rural India and Southeast Asia and parts of Africa? Once again, we see the same phenomenon. Social media arrives and then the violence follows. There are too many examples to give. I think the thing is, though, that people are genuinely addicted. The addiction is technically very similar to gambling addiction.
Right.
When somebody becomes addicted to gambling, they don't want to believe it. They think they're in control, but they're not. And so since everybody's addicted to this stuff, when you talk to them about it, it's very hard for them to understand because they're addicted. It's essentially a form of being hypnotized, but by a hypnotist who's working for somebody else.
Right.
It's a very strange situation.
Mr. Zuckerberg, Would you be comfortable sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
No.
If you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
I'm here to tell you that you're being shortchanged. What has happened is heartbreaking. The whole world has become darker. The way humans respond the most intensely is with fear or anger. People who are afraid, people who are angry, they pay attention. We've created a whole civilization based on tricking each other. This whole shadow economy that runs our world now and concentrates all the wealth and reduces your future would not be possible without the data that's coming from you and your friends. You are the fuel for it. You're giving away all your data for free. You don't know what data has been taken from you. You don't know how it's ultimately used. You don't have any opportunity to take pride in it. You don't have any opportunity to make it better. To you, it's a mystery, so you pretend it's nothing, but it isn't nothing. When you realize that data is the new oil, when you realize that this thing being taken from you that you don't think about is the future economic value, is your future economic value. It's your future economic power.
The biggest internet IPO ever.
Values the company at more than $31 billion.
Multi-billionaire today.
All of a sudden, I hope you can see you're giving away everything in exchange for almost nothing. We need to affirmatively, positively invent a different system that doesn't screw everybody up in the first place. It's even worse if you think about the future where you're whatever it is you do, whether you're a nurse or a bricklayer or a writer, anything. AIs and robots will probably come for your job. The little twist that we don't want anybody to know is that in order for the AI and the robots to work, we need everybody's data. I had an experience that moved me terribly. I met with a group of elite, brilliant high school students. They collaborated on the questions. And the first one was, if we're going to be surpassed by artificial intelligence, if we won't be needed, why are we here? I just realized that what we're doing now with our current culture of technology that's so tech-centric and just pretends that all the people out there giving us the data don't matter, that culture is sending a message of human obsolescence. We hear this so often and so much, and it breaks my heart. If you can't see that, try, for God's sakes. It's so important. Don't believe that you're worthless. It's a lie. Don't believe it.
I had the strangest dream last night. It must mean something. The fear was so vivid.
You haven't posted on social media in days.
Social media is not evil. It's not good or bad. The problem is balance. The problem is how we use the tool. And it's like alcohol is fun. Too much alcohol is actually very bad. And I don't mean on a nightly basis. I mean on a regular basis. Gambling, totally fun. But if you're gambling your kids' college education fund away, we have a problem, right? So these things aren't inherently good or bad. It's a question of balance. And social media is the exact same thing. Social media, of course, is wonderful. We connect with friends. We can stay in touch. We can, all of the share our vacations, pictures of our food. But the problem is balance, which is if it is an unbalanced presence in our lives, it will have detrimental impact to the quality of our friendships and our ability to form deep, meaningful relationships. It'll actually hurt our ability to manage and deal with stress because we find ourselves turning to social media for validation or to help us relax rather than turning to human beings. I think the big problem is that social media is addictive. It releases a chemical in our body called dopamine, which is the chemical that's released when we gamble, when we drink, when we smoke, that makes us feel good. And it makes us excited, and it's fun, like when your phone goes ding because a text came in, you know? Like we all say we wish we had less, but if you really got 0 texts or 0 dings in a day, you would worry. And the problem is that it is a highly addictive chemical inside our bodies, and so we as a society have not yet labeled social media or cell phone addiction as a legitimate addiction, so we have no treatments for it. And just as we wouldn't give our children access to alcohol or gambling because their little brains are too young to deal with the addictive qualities of dopamine, we have no restrictions on the access we give our children to equally addictive devices. Young children should have 0 access to the devices, and older children need to have more controls, and companies should ban cell phones in conference rooms, frankly.